You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Okay, we're live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment here while we bring on our Facebook group here, our entire community. Got to get everybody under the same roof. Letting it breathe like Quinn Miner's belly, a little something like that. I like the way that sounds. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up Podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me, my fellow football priest and the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, the Denver Broncos, since last we were able to talk with our great community, went out and signed a veteran wide receiver who has actually started games in the league for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, of course, you had the write-up for us at milehighhuddle.com. Drop some knowledge. Who is this guy, and what does he bring to the table?
Well, his name is Damian Willis, and he's a 2019 undrafted free agent. He played his rookie season with the Bengals. He started 2 games that year, appeared in 10 games, caught 9 passes for 82 yards. He was waived the following year, and then he had a cup of coffee in Cleveland, latched on to Jacksonville's practice squad toward the end of last year, and he wasn't brought back. So that's the skinny on his bona fides in the NFL, but he's a big body possession receiver, Chad, not unlike Tim Patrick. 6'3", 204 pounds, big catch radius. And I think, obviously the Broncos need a replacement on the roster for right now for Deshaun Hamilton, but don't be surprised if they're starting to prep for the inevitability of Tim Patrick walking next offseason. This move was announced on the same day that Patrick signed his RFA tender to come back for this season. They can't keep everyone. Sutton's going to need a contract. They have Judy. They have KJ Hamler. They drafted Seth Williams. This is a camp body / maybe potential future replacement for Tim Patrick, depending on how well Zach Azzanni works with him.
Yeah, so I like the quote here you found from USA Today's Jeff Risdon. Quote, this is him coming out, Willis, out of Troy as a prospect. Quote, he has speed, 4.48, 40-yard dash at his pro day, but it's fairly straight line, and that shows in his route running. Willis can make catches away from his body and uses his length well to present himself as a big target. While he's not a muscular guy, Willis can fight for contested throws and hang on through contact. He's flashed the ability to climb the ladder and catch high throws. There's not a lot of wiggle or power after the catch, close quote. So, Zach, you hit the nail on the head. It's another possession guy. And as you say, it's the NFL, so you can never say never. You never know what kind of trajectory relative no-name could take, in the league. But this strikes me as a kind of futures-type bubble guy type camp fodder. Let's keep that fourth QB's right arm, nice and warmed up. We need to have that fourth team or the 2 guys splitting third team reps. They need enough targets to throw to without getting too tired.
Yeah, and, I do like what he brings to the table and his measurables, but he really has an uphill battle to climb, even for a roster spot, let alone playing time. You have the big 3 alpha dogs. Then underneath them, you have Tim Patrick, you have Tyree Cleveland, Deontay Spencer, Seth Williams. So it's going to be tough for Willis to get a spot on the 53, but you never know, like you just said, what Zach Azzanni can do, how he can blossom in the Broncos system, and having another 6'3", possession guy who runs a 4.48 in this offense can't hurt any quarterback under center, whether it's Locke or Teddy Bridgewater.
One thing that probably, I'll be frank, it probably doesn't really require our attention, but it's the offseason. We do need some storylines to keep things fun and engaging. Pro Football Focus, I know we touched on this Monday night, but Bruce Gradkowski, former NFL backup quarterback, now writing for Pro Football Focus, ranked all 32 quarterbacks. Stop me if you've heard this before, okay? Drew Lock ranked dead last. And Zach, of course, it comes as no surprise. We know that before he even became a pro, PFF has seemingly had it out for Drew Lock, making jokes about his mom and things like that. But how much – I've had a few fans reach out to me. How much, if anything, should fans read into Bruce Gradkowski ranking Drew Lock number 32? And before you answer that, here's what he said, quote, the reason the Broncos acquired veteran QB Teddy Bridgewater to compete with Lock for the starting job is because Lock had the 32nd ranked passing grade out of 36 qualifying quarterbacks. So, Zach, it sounds like George Payton, according to Bruce Gradkowski, before he decides what to do from a roster building perspective, he wants to check the grades at PFF first. Like, everything stops until I can pour over what PFF had to say grade-wise on one of my players or player I'm looking at signing or what have you, which is obviously very tongue-in-cheek, right? Very ridiculous. But how much should fans read into this?
Well, a lot of listeners, or at least some listeners, are wondering, who's Bruce Gradkowski? I mean, why should we care what he has to say? Why should we care what Dan Orlovsky or Chris Sims has to say? It's just their opinion. But it really does seem, no matter the analyst, no matter the writer, no matter who's saying it, Pro Football Focus has it in for Drew Lock. They have a certain physical reaction on a body part that I can't name on this podcast for him, Chad. Starts with a B, and they just won't get rid of it. I don't know if it drives them clicks. I don't know if they just hate the guy personally. They hate what he brings to the table. But however Broncos country seems to feel about Locke, it's amplified times 10 in Pro Football Focus's rating, calling him the 33rd best quarterback out of 32, constantly trashing him, constantly looking at the Broncos roster like they're a Super Bowl-ready team, minus who's under center right now. So I don't really care what Bruce Gradkowski has to say. I don't really care what Pro Football Focus has to say. I'll trust my eyes, my brain, and my instincts when it comes to evaluating number 3.
The biggest thing that's, and well said, by the way, the biggest thing that really just gets my goat on all this stuff, Pro Football Focus, in my opinion, is one of the primary reasons, there's been such a negative upswell on Drew Lock, both in and outside the fan base. All right. But that being said, the one thing that drives me crazy about the Drew Lock critics that are screaming from the rooftops that this dude sucks is you look at his year 2 body of work, and yes, he was inconsistent. Yes, he was up and down, as we acknowledge on this podcast often. But what they focus in on are the downs. They completely omit and ignore and avoid the ups. And that's the biggest thing about Drew Lock's 2020 body of work, Zach, is, there were some alarming lows there, specifically going from halfway through the fourth quarter of week 6 at New England through the third quarter of week 8 at home against the Chargers. That stretch in particular, it was concerning. We saw some regression. We saw many boneheaded plays. And you're going, whoa, what's happening with this guy? But then no one wants to talk about what then happened week 11 on, right? And it's the correlation, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Drew Lock learning a new system, all right, didn't get an offseason, didn't get a preseason, got a weird training camp, all right, didn't get the reps required to fully assimilate the system like he would in a traditional year, Zach. So by the time you get to week 11, that's where he's now had enough reps to start feeling comfortable and loose in the offense. So he had to learn this, all right, in an NFL classroom of live bullet games that counted. No one wants to acknowledge that. No one wants to acknowledge the injury. No one wants to acknowledge the fact that it's a new offensive coordinator, right, without the benefit of OTAs. I just wish that if the critics, when they came at Drew, came at him, whatever their assertion is, all right, assert your point, whatever that take might be, Zach, but then also acknowledge the fact that, hey, he had some unique obstacles specific to Drew, specific to the Denver Broncos that factor in to the macro picture of what we're talking about in a now third-year player.
They'll never acknowledge those things because it doesn't just, hurt the narrative. It destroys the narrative, Chad. I mean, negativity sells, and we know that firsthand. Positivity doesn't. So if they're looking for their hook here to be Locke's this terrible quarterback and we're going to drive in clicks or views, if that's their end game here about Locke, they can't start off by saying, well, he has elite arm talent. He's a great leader on the field. He was hurt last year by the pandemic, by his offensive coaching. That's not going to sell. That's going to ruin their argument and ruin their narrative. And for whatever reason, it seems like he cannot improve upon that ranking. He cannot get any better than what he is, which is either 33rd, as crazy as that sounds, or 32nd overall. And if you look at the factors, if you watch the team last year turn on one game, whether it's week 1 or week 17, you would see the same things that Locke was hurt from last year. Not just himself. He did plenty on his own to hurt himself, but the coaching, the play calling, the injuries, the line play, the receivers, the drops, that all factored in. But Pro Football Focus, as great as they are for stat gathering and data and all that stuff, they really fall short, as Boggin says in another comment here, when it comes to opinion making, because it's so biased. They don't even try to hide it anymore. It's pure bias against Locke in Denver.
Biased and subjective. Boggins, thanks for the super chat, buddy. We're going to talk about this topic here because Sam Monson actually had a relatively, it's rare to see an insightful PFF article on the subject of Drew Lock. But as you say here, PFF has all posted that Drew has a 6.4% big-time throw rate in 2020, which was 7th best in the NFL. Yes, and we're going to talk more about that. But tonight, we are excited because it is Wednesday night, which means it is a superstar segment. And we've got one of the greats, Tyler Randell, in the house with us. We can't wait to get him on camera and start picking his brain on some of these hot topic issues and some other fun questions that we have queued up. But really quick, first, we got to take care of some matters of business, starting with how to connect with us on social media. First things first, Twitter, @HuddleUpPod and @MileHighHuddle. If you connect with those two accounts on Twitter, you're not going to miss anything pod-related. You're not going to miss anything announcement-wise or breaking Broncos news and analysis. Follow our producer, Buana Beast, on Twitter, @JohnKMHH. My partners @Kelberman, @KelbermanNFL. Myself, @Chad and Jensen. And speaking of connecting with us, all right, make sure you're also liking and following the Huddle Up Podcast Facebook page. If you want to enter into our weekly drawings and giveaways for some swag, a hat, a T-shirt, a mug, whatever it might be, just make sure you navigate over to the Huddle Up Podcast page, like and follow, and you'll automatically be entered into those drawings. Open it up on your phone, just search Huddle Up Pod, or there's the actual link on screen, facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod, and you'll be right there. Also, speaking of Facebook, become a supporter if you want access to our VIP premium video and podcast content, which includes Kelberman's Corner every Sunday at noon Mountain Time and the Trickle Zone every Saturday at noon Mountain Time. Want to sign up? You just go to the page, facebook.com/milehighhuddle. You'll see the big blue button at the top. Become a supporter. You click that. You're in like Flynn, and you'll get access to that. And you're supporting the cause, contributing to keeping the lights on here at our podcast, video stuff, all that content. It is funded by you, the community. So thanks to all of you who have pulled the trigger on becoming a supporter. And then last thing here, gang, make sure you head on over to the merch store, huddleuppod.com, and get yourself a hat. Get your swag on. Mug, T-shirt, whatever it might be. Another great way to support what we're doing here. Rep the brand and also rep the team colors. And if you're not in a position to do those things, it's all good. We just ask that you are, number one, making sure that you're subscribed. Number two, like this video if you want to help get this content in front of other Broncos fans who just don't know that this community of fans exists out there. All right, especially on YouTube and Facebook. You like the video, it increases the chances manyfold of getting this content in front of fans just like you. And then three is, look, if we're doing a good job for you, or at the very least, if you respect the effort, share this video and help us continue to grow and reach those new like-minded Broncos fans just like you. All right, now has come the time. We want to bring on Tyler Randell. And Tyler, he came to us over the last calendar year, and he came on strong, quickly established himself as a bona fide Super Chat superstar, and he's up there on the MHH Mount Rushmore. Let's bring him on and say hello. Tyler Randell in the house. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for joining us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, guys. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Heck yeah, dude. We've been looking forward to this. We've planned it for a long time, so we are absolutely geeked up to have you with us. Now, we are going to get to some kind of fan-oriented questions. We want to find out how you became such a hardcore fan. You got a cool story on that. But first things first, on the subject of Drew Lock, all right, where do you stand? PFF, the rankings, all that. It's whatever. But what's your overall outlook on Drew heading into 2020, knowing he's got to, of course, fend off Teddy Bridgewater, etc.?
Oh, yeah. So I know we've talked about it in length on here that it's almost being taboo to be a Lock fan at this point. But, I'm one to take that on because, my sides are not just based off of PFF, who has their own agenda. They want to prove their own points and all that. They do put out good work. They put out a lot of hard work, but they're definitely not the end-all, be-all. You do have to do your own research. You do have to do your own diving. And he has shown that he can make the throws. He can be electric. He just needs to put it all together. And I think another year, especially, referring back to how he was at Missouri, having 2 consistent years, and he blew up. And just the clips that we've seen so far, it looks like he's poised to do that again. And honestly, I wouldn't even be scared of Teddy if I was him, just because, he's got more talent. He's got more of a ceiling. Melvin Gordon recently, like you guys referred to in the last pod, was hyping him up, saying he's not afraid to take the deep shots. And those are the kind of quarterbacks that win games these days. So
we'll get back to Locke in a minute. You mentioned research. You teased the research that you've had, Tyler. I don't want it to go to waste. You're a Druther, as they say, but you're also a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. So break out some of those stats as you would about Aaron and why he's such a great quarterback. We all know why, but you have at least one stat that blew my mind. Share us with the audience right now, A-Rod's best numbers.
Most definitely. So I am a big A-Rod fan, just by his early work coming into the league, putting in his time, paying his dues behind Favre of all people. We never thought he would get unseated, but they unseated him with a true talent. So going through some statistical diving, because I am a fan and I love doing data analysis, I found a couple of them that are pretty interesting about his career. He's got 412 total touchdowns in his 16-year career and only 86 interceptions. So he hasn't even hit 90, let alone 100 at this point in his career. So that's one thing that everybody preaches about, keeping the ball under, on your side, not turning it over. And most of the turnovers that are caused in Green Bay are receivers fumbling or running backs fumbling. It's not Rodgers throwing interceptions, because he had 4 this past season, and 2 of them ended up in one game. So he only threw picks in 3 different games. So he's definitely accurate.
Honestly, I don't think there's been a quarterback better than Rodgers in NFL history at walking that razor's edge of protecting the ball. In fact, just being stingy as hell with that ball. I'm not giving you the ball, while also making big play after big play after big play. Like, I don't think anyone's done it better than him. But Tyler, let me flip the script just for a minute here. Relative to being a fan, all right? I won't betray, of course, where you are exactly geographically. I'll let you do that if you choose to. But you are another one of our great members of this community who exemplify our little hashtag state of being. All right, for those of you new to the show, we say Broncos country is not a geographic location. It's a state of being. It's wherever you are. And you exemplify that. So tell our fans, tell us how you became such a dedicated, passionate, hardcore fan of this team.
Oh, most definitely. It's a unique one. If I say so myself, I'm from Oklahoma. I've lived in a couple of other places, but I've actually never even technically been to Colorado, except for going through it a couple times. I really want to go. I'm setting up some stuff, hopefully to catch a game sometime, but we just got
week 3. Week 3.
I'm trying. If I could, I would. We'll see where everything's going by that time. But we made a house purchase recently, so that financial situation.
Congrats on that, though.
But thank you. But so being from Oklahoma, normally a lot of Cowboys or Chiefs or closer surrounding states, short drives. It's like 4 hours to Dallas or 2 hours to Dallas from Oklahoma, or Tulsa is 4, and that's pretty much what you run into. And they're not the fun ones. They're the cocky ones, and they're like, well, I'm from Oklahoma, and I still do that. But I actually grew up with a dad who was a Buffalo Bills fan, like avid. Like, he was in their chat rooms and everything. So I guess I kind of got the data side from witnessing that. And for me, I just never wanted to be a follower of the same team. It just one of those things I just never really clicked with the Bills, and I didn't really get into football until I started playing in middle school. And when that happened, I wanted to form my own opinions, my own favorites, and I based it off of the positions I was going to play, and I was going to pick a player and root for that team. I actually started out as an Atlanta Falcons fan with Michael Vick, because I was going to play quarterback, and I was probably more of a running back than anything, Lamar Jackson type, except I can't throw like him or run because he's a freak. But ever since then, quarterback didn't really work out, never really hit the height, unfortunately. 5'7". You're not going to be thrown behind any offensive line for that unless you're going to hit him in the back. So I found that was probably not the best position. So I ended up getting to like skill position, like the players, like the Wes Welkers. He was getting big at that time. My high school soccer coach actually coached against him. So he was an idol of mine. But my position ended up being about corners and safety because I could read an offense because I had that experience at quarterback and I could just tell. So I ended up looking for some DBs to model my game after, and to try and learn how to hit was a big thing for me because I was always so small and I just didn't really have that anger. I ended up falling on one of the top 10 hardest hitting safeties lists from the NFL Network. And sure enough, here comes John Lynch, my man. And ever since I saw his highlights, I was like, that guy right there, that's who I want to be. It just taking names and not giving any mercy because he even knocked out his brother-in-law from a game. He hurt him on purpose. Not really, not on purpose, but he wanted to make sure his brother-in-law knew who was the big dog. And then from there, the combo of him and Champ Bailey, that's what stuck with me. And then they drafted Jay Cutler. And I was like, you know what? They drafted a quarterback, and that's what the NFL is about, even back then. So I'm going to stick with this team, and I'm going to root for them. And ever since then, it's just been nothing but Broncos country all the time. And what's funny is I actually rooted against the Broncos, against the Falcons in their first Super Bowl. So I can't claim that I've seen or been a fan of the Broncos for their entirety of their Super Bowl runs. But I did convert, and I got to see two more. The great Peyton Manning, bringing one home for us, number 50, big milestone. Next big one would be 75, but that's not for a while. Hopefully we can rack up a few more between now and then. But, ever since then, it's just been dominance and the defense, and I love defensive play. I love, I am one. I love touchdowns, but Stu,
give us one, guy. Tyler. Give us a Zeus.
Zeus, let's go, man.
Love you, Stu. Thanks for the super.
I appreciate that,
Tyler. But, you know where I'm going with this, right? Favorite memory, least favorite memory. Go.
So I'll start with the least favorite. And honestly, there's a few things I could pin it on. One of the biggest ones would be Josh McDaniels' failed experiment that ruined what we had going. It's like, oh, hey, we have a quarterback on the rise, and we have an all-star receiver who just set the record for most catches in a single game, and Brandon Marshall, and they had chemistry starting to work up, and all of a sudden he comes in and says, no, I don't like this. But I have to say now it's been how the ownership situation has unfolded. As a Broncos fan, you want to have that, security as an owner. Like, you don't want to have, NFL threats looming over your franchise and things like that. And it's just the fallout that came from that. It led into the past 5 years of just mediocrity ever since the Super Bowl. And that's probably my lowest right now. But we are on the mend. Love Peyton, loving the moves. I had a bone to pick with the Lindsey move just because I love Lindsey. But that's a lot of Broncos country. But my favorite, I have to say, would be Super Bowl 50 just because of the situation I was in. I was actually stationed in Wichita, Kansas at the time. And there was only one other Broncos fan there. And everybody in the station hated the Broncos. Like, they just hated them. A lot of Chiefs fans. And I just loved going into the Super Bowl. They're like, oh, really? You think you guys are going to beat Cam Newton? You guys are going to get blown out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, we'll see. And then I got to bring in just bring out the justice at the fire station the next day and be like, yeah, who won, baby? Super Bowl 50.
That's cool, man. It's funny you bring up John Lynch and how you modeled your game as a young DB after him and the whole hitting component, because everyone's well aware of just how ferocious he was as a hitter. But I'll never forget watching this. It was probably on a top 10 list like that. Might have been something else, but he was talking about the art of laying the big hit. And, as someone who's played football, anyone who's played, most of the time when you lay those big hits, it hurts the guy you hit, but it most of the time hurts you too. You feel that.
Yeah.
And he talked about just that perfect Zen moment of the certain kind of pop, certain kind of hit where you can just feel it. You don't feel anything. It's like the clean hit, and then you drop the guy. But Tyler, I got one more for you, because we're running a little bit long, but I got to pick your brain on this. This will be interesting. So as a fan who, let's just say from like 98, 99-ish till today, even though you haven't been a Broncos fan that entire time, that's about when your Bronco awareness really started, the Broncos-Falcons Super Bowl 33. Who would you put? All right, now, the Mile High Huddle, Mount Rushmore of superstars, I mean, we carved out – we're in the Rockies, right? We're not trying to make do with the little mountains out there in the Dakotas. We got room for multiple busts up there on our Mount Rushmore, but keeping it to 4, all right, who is your 4 Denver Broncos on Mount Rushmore?
So that's actually like super easy for me. And they can interchange in the order, except for number 1. So I'll end on that one. But I'll say number 4, Steve Atwater. Number 3, Champ Bailey. Number 2, John Lynch. Number 1, the man, the myth, the legend, Von Miller.
Wow, no Peyton, no Elway. That's a non-quarterback Mount Rushmore, Chad, that we've never heard before. It's very
it's cool. It's cool to have a different, a little different flavor. But Tyler, dude, thank you so much for giving us some of your time tonight.
Oh.
From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate your support as a superstar, keeping the channel going, keeping the show going, keep what you do in the community. So hopefully you know that we really do appreciate all of your contributions and the time you take to come on the show tonight, the time you take to watch every show and chip into the conversation and always bring good questions and good topics to discuss. So thank you for all that. Thank you for your time, my friend. And we want to, of course, have you back on the show in the very near future, sometime between now and when football gets started again at the end of the summer. So hopefully we can make another date work. But thanks for joining us tonight, my friend. It's been great meeting you and chatting with you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, not a problem. I'd definitely be up for coming back, and I appreciate you having me on. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night.
And Tyler, thank you for your service as well.
Yes.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. There he goes. Follow him on Twitter. He had it up there, but it's at Randell, and he spells Randall kind of like Nick Kendall with Kendall. He spells it Randell. So it's at Randell_Tyler. Follow him. Great follow on Twitter.
Yep.
As you could see, data guy, analytics, likes to kind of break things down to the nitty gritty. But Zach, I got to say it's been a minute since I've asked a question, whether on a live pod like this or just, casually talking to a Broncos fan. And you talk about their all-time faves, and you don't hear Elway, you don't hear Peyton Manning. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's unique to him, and that's what I really like about Tyler. He gave his analysis, like you said, based on data, but also his educated, objective opinion. He wasn't like Pro Football Focus where it was biased one way or the other. He is an Aaron Rodgers fan, but he's also a Drew Lock fan. He's a Broncos fan, but he's not going to put Elway on there or Peyton on there if he doesn't believe they should be on there. So he was really interesting tonight. I had a lot of fun talking to him.
Real quick, to catch up on some of our great patient superstars, I know we already shouted out Zeus, but he had 2 supers in here tonight. Love you, bro. Hope everything's good in your neck of the woods. What we'd do without you, I don't know, but thank you, my friend. I'm moseying down real quick here. Here we go. John's got one queued up. Muhammad, look at that cute little baby. Look at that cute little baby. Brand new baby to Muhammad and his wife. Congratulations, bro. Thank you for the super. And congratulations on the new addition to your family. Very, very cool to see that, my friend. And, just super stoked, super happy for you.
Yeah, all the best. Hope mom's doing well. And, Muhammad, we appreciate all your support. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Very cool. I got one coming next Thursday. In fact, is when my baby is probably going to be here. We went to the doctor today, and the doctor, we originally had our due date as June 10th, and the doc – he's going to be on vacation that week. So he's like, hey, why don't we just induce on this date? You're good to go. This kid could come at any moment. No problems. He's fully baked. He's cooked. He's ready to come out. And so we're going in next Thursday to have a baby. So we'll be joining you in that fraternity Muhammad is brand new parents again. But thanks, buddy. Doug, what's up, bro? He says, what's up, Chad and Zach? Man, the hate is real, PFF. My guy Drew is going to prove him wrong. Hashtag let him hate. Hashtag state of being. Appreciate that super chat, Doug. You're definitely working your way up toward being a superstar, and it means a lot to us.
And that's also, the hashtag and the whole saying was inspired not just for Locke to prove Broncos country wrong, but literally every single person doubting him, even the people that are paid to be critical of him, but fair, and they're not. They're totally biased against him. So whether it's PFF, whether it's Bleacher Report, whether it's NFL.com, or whether it's people in Broncos country, I think he's going to rise up to the challenge. And based on the little video we saw, you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his stature and his body language. He is laser focused this year, and I think he's going to have a bigger season.
Dave from Georgia, back in the saddle with us. It was good to hear from you privately, Dave. I'm glad to hear things are going well or better for you. So don't fret. It's always, we like hearing from our superstars. Like when they go dark for a minute, like we're not seeing them in the chat. They reach out, they let us know what's going on, even though we're not expecting any kind of explanation or anything like that. It's good. We like hearing it because oftentimes when those moments come, it's because something's going on. Maybe they need a little positive energy going their way. So Dave, love you. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, hashtag who's Bruce? Bruce Wayne? I don't know what that means. Do you?
Gradkowski. When I said who's Bruce Gradkowski, I mean, again, that's even you don't know, Chad. You've forgotten that short time. His opinion means less than nothing. So yeah, who's Bruce Gradkowski indeed, Dave?
Good to see you, bro. Michaela, the Duchess in the hizzy. Generosity on point as usual. Love you. Appreciate you. Michaela says, PFF is a joke. I remember when they were reputable. Now they can suck on lemons. Peace. Yes. Deuces indeed to PFF. Yeah, there was a time that, it was, it really was a unique, cool, insightful addition to helping break down football. Analytics, coming into the picture, not just from a team perspective. I mean, teams have been using analytics on the football side, different forms of them for many, many years, but PFF kind of brought that into the media landscape and popularized it to a point where fans not only understood it, but actively sought out that information. And, they were trailblazers, and credit to them, but they've really taken a turn for the worse over the last few years. And I say that even if Drew Lock had never become a Bronco. So their grades, hey, you want to use them as a barometer, I'm not going to fault you for it, but just don't hinge everything on their grades. Their actual premium stats, those are what's valuable. That's actually measuring empirically, did a thing happen or not? That's it. And that takes all subjectivity out of it. It's completely objective. Anyone can see, oh, yeah, that was a completion. Chalk it up on the board. All right. Now their premium stats dive a lot deeper than simple things like that, but those things still have a utility. What PFF offers in the premium stat department, their grades and their editorial vision. What a joke.
And it's definitely not limited to just quarterbacks or limited to just Locke. It seems like it's a Broncos issue. I remember after last season, they graded Justin Simmons as the second best safety in football, number 2 overall out of like 100 qualifiers, yet he wasn't on the all PFF team after the season. So literally one hand never knows what the other's doing. And here's a downfall of PFF. It's when Twitter got to them. They weren't just stats anymore. They weren't just this little known brand that Chris Collinsworth had some investment in. It's when they started with the memes and the clout and the social media. The toxicity of Twitter ruined Pro Football Focus.
Andy, what's up, dude? Another great superstar who's come on strong lately. Great to have you. Thanks for the support, buddy. He says, PFF has had it out for Locke since before he was drafted. No surprise they still have takes that bash him. Hope he serves them a bunch of crow pie this year. Hashtag pro football frauds. I like that, dude. It's like Jake Plummer said, Jake is holding out and hoping that Drew Lock gets the last laugh on people like that and his naysayers. And I'm inclined to believe that he will.
I just feel really sorry, and I don't mean to indirectly insult anyone out there. I just feel really sorry for people who take what's information that's presented to them and blindly accepts it as fact. without trusting their own judgment, their own eyes, and their own brain. If you watch Locke last year in the second half of the season, you saw a quarterback that was a lot better than 33 overall. You saw a quarterback that was a lot better than what Bruce Gradkowski got. I can't even pronounce his name. It doesn't even matter what he deems acceptable in the NFL. I just wish the bias wasn't there, but it's the Broncos bias, Chad. It's been there for years now.
Kane Dawson, what's up, dude? Great to connect with you on Twitter. Appreciate your support. He says, Zach, constantly bringing that fire. I love it. Let him hate. Love the shirt, by the way. Hey, dude, the shirt, you got to send us a selfie. All right, we'll put it up on MHH Instagram. Follow us over there, gang. At mile_high_huddle. Follow us over there. But, Kane, appreciate you, dog.
HuddleUpPod.com. Get your own. Let him hate. Appreciate you, Kane.
Kiaka in the house as well. Across the Pacific in Paradise in Hawaii. What's up, bro? Appreciate you. He says, first of all, it's PFF. Secondly, it's Bruce Gradkowski. Lastly, who the frick is Bruce Gradkowski? Exactly. Love y'all, Broncos country. Yes, touche. Well said. Well said. Just like an offensive coordinator, Bruce Gradkowski, he took his marching orders from his OC anytime he was on the field. It's good to see that following the editorial mandate, whatever's being, forced down his throat, no problem. Oh, Drew Lock's the worst? Okay. Entered, done, submitted. That's how it's flowing. Brian, what's up, dude? Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. He says, I believe in Locke, but I'm really scared. Zach, what do you think he means by that?
I think he's scared to get hurt. And Brian, I don't really necessarily blame you. I mean, a lot of people are familiar with my past life watching the Jets and the quarterback nightmares that went on there. I don't blame you at all for wanting to be emotionally invested and kind of dipping your toe in, but not wanting to jump into the deep end. I understand. Listen, he plays really well one snap, and then he'll make you hold your head in disbelief in a bad way the next snap. But you have to ride with him if he's the quarterback of the Broncos. You have to go all in with Locke like he's doing. He's dedicating every resource he has, and he has been for weeks now, to becoming the best that he can be. And if he's not good enough, he's not good enough. But you have to take the chance. What does Wayne Gretzky always used to say, Chad? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if you don't have any investment, you're not going to get any of the reward that would happen if Locke blossoms this year.
Yes. And BNS says, Zach, I'd say let him hate, but PFF hates all things orange, so it's redundant. Hashtag all pro Bulls. Another touche. Well said.
I can't speak on the Bulls hate, but good to see you, BNS.
Hey, shout out to Steve Armstrong. Appreciate you, my brother. Hashtag football priest. Yep. State of being. Dale, what's up, brother? Appreciate you. He says, Chad, love the article about PFF and Locke. Spot on. I can't take anything PFF says seriously. I can, however, take MHH to heart. Thanks, Chad, Zach, and John. Appreciate that, brother. Really do. Means a lot. Real quick, John, it's about to jump here. Let me just grab one or two more, and then I want to pull up this article from Sam Monson that Boggins brought up because it's worth talking about. It's one – I mean, I was shocked to see all positive things said about Drew Lock by anyone at PFF. And, credit to Sam Monson. He's one of the PFF OGs. He's not necessarily been one of the guys at the forefront of the Drew Lock shade bandwagon. So we'll get to that in a sec. ML, a newer name on Super Chat, Zach. So
welcome.
Thank you. Connect on Twitter. ML says, what if we trade for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams wants to follow him to Denver in the offseason? How would our wide receiver room look? And that's so many steps down the hypothetical path that I don't even know that it's worth talking about because, first of all, it doesn't really feel like the pendulum's swinging toward Rodgers leaving Green Bay.
Right.
And even if it was, and even if he did, that's a can that's getting kicked down the road as far as Adams, even in your own hypothetical here, ML, a year from now. So, I mean, if he landed here, then what do you do with Cortland Sutton? You still got to pay Jerry Jeudy if he continues to develop as you expect him to as a first-round pick. KJ, Noah Fant. Eventually, you run out of money to pay skill position guys.
And they have Damian Willis. Who needs Devontae Adams now, Chad? The thing is, though, he's under contract. I mean, this is not going to set a precedent where every player that's signed gets to just dictate where they want to go. If they do trade A-Rod, which I think is less and less likely, that's a very unique situation. Not every player like Devontae Adams can say, no, I'm going to go there. I'm going to Denver. peace out, I'm reneging on my contract. It doesn't work that way. And I have a funny feeling if Rodgers were to come to Denver, he would like his receiver core a lot. I mean, you mentioned them, Chad, the tight ends, the running backs, the receivers. He has a better set of skilled players here than he ever had in Green Bay. So I think he'd quickly forget about Devontae Adams if a trade were to happen.
All right, John. So I'm going to grab Flyfish Hunter here. Before I do, the stream just jumped. So let me tell you where we need to cover some makeup ground here. From Flyfish, we need Zeus. We got Zeus. We need hold on. Let me do a quick scroll really fast here. So the next one I have is Nancy at 639. So in between, we need Air Mason. We need the Queen. We need Cottonmouth, Calvin, and then we're good. So those 4. Meanwhile, Flyfish Hunter, what's up, dude? Thank you for that very generous super chat. Very cool to connect with you on Twitter and chit chat on DM. He says, and by the way, if you guys are into fishing, check out his YouTube channel. As you can see, Flyfish Hunter. This is an expert in the field. Some really cool videos fishing some of the coolest little hot spots in the United States. So check that out. But he says all reports indicated Broncos would take one of the big 4 quarterbacks if they were available at pick 9. Do you think the news of Aaron Rodgers, the morning of the draft, derailed their plans? #state of being, #Broncos for life. No. And here's what I'll say, Flyfish Hunter. We were telling you on this podcast, our gut intuition based on what we were hearing and just our vibe on this was that they were not going to take a cue, that it was all smoke signals. It was all just BS, all right? And I think that they take Patrick Surtain there at number 9, whether the news breaks on Aaron Rodgers that day or not, leaving Justin Fields on the board, leaving Mac Jones on the board and everybody else. So that's another thing. Even the boo birds in Broncos country on the Drew Lock subject, it's like, look, it was a vote of confidence, all right? It wasn't like a out in front. This wasn't John Elway saying Drew's our guy after the draft. That's why we didn't take one. It wasn't quite on that level. But, Zach, it was a vote of confidence in Drew. But the reality is you go, well, then what about Teddy Bridgewater? If they're so confident in Drew, what's that about? Trading for him day before the draft. Well, look, you got jobs on the line this year with the coaches. They got to have a fail-safe just in case. They got to have a competent, plausible, veteran fail-safe in the event that, let's not forget, 2 years in the league, Drew Lock, 2 injuries that have caused him to miss actual regular season time. So, I don't read into that. I really don't. The Broncos had a chance to, however you want to look at it, let's just say upgrade the QB room, right? Because at the very least, bringing in a Justin Fields to the quarterback room, at the very least, you're significantly upgrading your depth. They had a chance to do that, Zach. They didn't do it, and I really don't think it had anything to do with Aaron Rodgers.
And could they show any less commitment to Teddy Bridgewater? They reduced his contract to 1 year for $4 million, and they traded a 6th-round pick for him. And then even Bridgewater said he's coming in here with the expectation of being the backup. So I don't think it was in the cards to take a quarterback at number 9 unless it was Trey Lance. And that's just my opinion. But it seems like once Lance went off the board at number 3, any option or discussion about taking Fields or Mac Jones ended there. You take arguably the best defender, not just cornerback in this draft class. And I think that's what Peyton's whole objective was about. We've been saying that for quite a while now. So I don't think the Aaron Rodgers news derailed the Broncos' plans. I think the Fields and Mac Jones news was fake news. I don't think there was ever any serious intention of taking them at that spot. I think that was a media and fan creation sparked in part because of the animosity and vitriol surrounding Drew Lock.
Well said. The Queen in the house. Talk about a day to celebrate. When we have Christy here with us, it's a better Huddle Up podcast. Here she is with a very generous super chat off the top rope. She says, I haven't been by for a bit. Been super busy. So good to catch a live. Good to see my guys and you all. Go Broncos. The Queen doing what the Queen does. Love you, Christy. Hope the girls are doing well. I feel you on the softball life. I'm really starting to kind of learn the ropes of that, but love you, appreciate you. Good to have you.
Literally, the podcast is not the same without Christy in the chat, so we appreciate that. Not just you popping in, but your level of donation and your support and your generosity, as always, Christy. That's exactly why you're the Queen. It's exactly why we love you so, so much.
All right, real quick, John, I'm going to take a break from Supers, and I just want to grab this little bit from Sam Monson, of Pro Football Focus. And in this article, all right, he's basically the premise of this piece is how likely, or the unlikely case, the unlikely case that Drew Lock can be the answer for the Denver Broncos. And what he goes on in the body of the story to say is he compares him to an outlier. Like, yeah, let's not completely eliminate the possibility of him following in Josh Allen's footsteps and going from being written off to taking the league by storm. As unlikely as it might be, it's a possibility. Maybe, but don't get your hopes up. It was his main premise, and he throws a bunch of stats out there. But one of PFF's premium stats relative to the quarterback position, all right, is the big-time throw rate. Now, it is slightly subjective. It's not quite an objective measuring of did this happen or not. There is a little bit of bias and opinion built into this particular metric. However, Sam says, quote, what Locke does have working in his favor, though, is a high big-time throw rate of 6.4% last season. That figure ranks 7th in the league behind five-star quarterbacks like Derek Carr, behind five-star quarterbacks and Derek Carr. It's a higher figure than Allen managed. Allen's was a 5.8% big-time throw rate, and it shows that for all of Locke's inaccuracy, he has real upside. Big-time throws are PFF's highest-graded passes. Generally, they are deeper down the field into extremely tight windows or a combination of both. And they aren't just a nice thing to see in a quarterback. They materially matter to an offense. An offensive drive ends in a score 60% of the time when there is a big-time throw during it. A quarterback who can repeat that skill is a huge boost to an offense if, here's the rub, he can avoid plays that offset or negate those plays. Last thing I'm going to read here, Zach. Herein lies Locke's current struggle. As good as his big-time throw rate is, his turnover-worthy play rate is problematic at 4.5%. His career rate would rank 35th out of 42 quarterbacks in 2020. Again, though, we can draw a parallel with Josh Allen, whose rookie season saw him post a turnover-worthy play rate of 5.1% before cutting 0.8 percentage points off that each subsequent year. Locke hasn't shown that development yet, but as we mentioned before, his sum playing time right now amounts to around only 1 year of play, close quote. So, Zach, this was one of the few insights from PFF that I've read since Drew Lock became a pro that I'm like, yeah, this is actually insightful because this is what we keep talking about with the ups and downs. Even John Elway, Drew was up and down at the end of the season. The ups, the downs. Everyone wants to focus on the downs, but the ups have been mouth-watering, like killer ups. I mean, the Carolina game, 280 yards passing, no interceptions, 4 touchdowns, games like that. And that's a complete game. But these big-time throws, you see that, Zach, and you go, that's what we're talking about. And then, of course, the boneheaded turnover or whatever might happen. And you're like, man, if you could just cut those out, this kid could be onto something. That's what he's trying to work through. That is the plight of every very talented, toolsy young Q coming out of college into the pros. They have to work through that learning curve. And many fans and almost all of media, local and national, they want to skip that. They want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, no. Drew Lock is unique in the universe of football. He doesn't get the learning curve. He doesn't get the developmental time. He doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. We're going to crucify him. In this case, Monson, I think, is providing some, from an editorial perspective for PFF, some much-needed balance for Drew.
Yeah, and D. Brown in the comments, we've warned you before, but you're getting a little carried away again by, with your opinion on Locke, so kind of settle down there. And listen, people accuse me of being biased for Locke, and I'm going to dispute that right now. I don't need his big-time percentage stat to know that he has upside, Chad. That stat means nothing to me, just as the negative stats mean nothing to me. It's all in the eye test. If you needed 2,000 words and numbers and stats and analytics to tell you that Drew Lock is an inconsistent young quarterback who's still growing, who has upside but also flaws, I don't know what to tell you. It's all right in front of you. But if you deny the fact that he got better last year, that is just your own personal bias, 100%.
And by the way, honestly speaking, to guys like D and anyone else who has this perspective, where are we getting carried away with Drew? Like, what have we said that is a bridge too far about Drew? I want to hear it. Put it in the chat. John will keep an eye out for it. Cottonmouth78, what's up, dude? Good to have you in the chat tonight. Thank you for your support. He says, you guys aren't Shermer fans, so who would you like at OC? Also, if Fangio doesn't cut it, who would you like as head coach? And do you think Vic would stay on as DC if he lost the head coach job? That last one is a hard no. Who would you like at OC, Zach? If Shermer gets the can after this year and they rehire and all that stuff, who are you thinking?
I mean, take your pick. You know, you can have Eric Bieniemy, Kellen Moore, Greg Roman, Brian Daboll. There's so many talented minds out there, Chad. Even Michael LaFleur, after 1 year with the Jets, he's going to be probably a head coaching candidate after his work with Zach Wilson. So any either young to moderately aged offensive mind, I just think the next head coach, regardless, 100% has to be of the offensive side of the ball. They cannot continue going against the grain and hiring a defensive mind.
In a perfect world, if you could do that, you go get a great offensive head coach and you can keep Vic, great. It just doesn't happen that way. When that happens from a PR perspective, it's almost like exercising a demon. It's not that Vic at that point would be a demon, but it's just hey, we fired a head coach. What kind of signal are we sending to our fans if we keep him on even as a defensive coordinator? It's from a PR perspective, they just like to keep it simple. That's it. He's fired. He's no longer with the organization. That's that. All right, we got one here from Air Mason 14. What's up, dude? Thank you for the super. Honest opinion on Justin Fields. Zach, your thoughts?
I'm not as high on him, I believe, as you are, Chad, and most out there. I think he's a nice, talented prospect for sure. He had a lot of success in college. He has a lot of mouth-watering tools. I just don't see the hype that he's getting from the outside media where he's this, bench Andy Dalton now, put him in. He's going to have a 10-year career. He's the next Deshaun Watson, next future All-Pro. I have him distinctly under Zach Wilson and Trey Lance in this draft class based on upside. I think he's going to have a nice career, but the way they're projecting him, I think is a little out of control. Just my opinion, though.
I think he's a talented young quarterback. I think that if the Bears play their cards right offensively and Matt Nagy, manages to jive with them in terms of, scheming things around his skill set, scheming things around what his limitations are at this point in his career, I think he could be a stud. I really do. But those are big ifs. It's every young quarterback has to, just like Drew is a second-round pick. I know, big difference between a first-round pick, but still, every quarterback's got to walk that desert, and the coaches can help try and minimize the distance they do have to walk in that desert. But so much of it is up to them in terms of just how hard they work, being fortunate in terms of the coaches they do get, the supporting cast they get. I think Justin Fields will go on to have a decent career. Is he going to be a superstar? I don't quite see it yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. Calvin, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Appreciate you. He says, hey, Broncos country, can't watch now, but showing some love. 63 snaps trying to file a grievance as if he was a victim for doing nothing after getting a free $17 million. Talking about Juwan James there, Zach.
Yeah, but let's be honest, Calvin, and, I'm far from the biggest Juwan James fan, but if I was screwed out of $20 million and I was following marching orders for my union and I got hurt and then I got cut, I'd probably file a grievance too. I'm just being honest. That's a lot of money at stake. That's my livelihood. There's a chance this can be a career-threatening injury, so why wouldn't he want to come after money that technically was coming to him? I can't blame him too much. This is all on, and the same thing with Deshaun Hamilton, all on J.C. Treader, all on D. Maurice Smith, and all on the NFLPA for incorrectly and egregiously advising these players to work out away from the facilities. They have blood on their hands, nobody else's.
Indeed. Yep, absolutely. And look, James is doing what he has to do, and maybe he ends up getting some kind of a settlement that he wouldn't have otherwise got if he didn't assert the issue with the NFL through arbitration. But Nancy, what's up? Thank you for the super chat, a newer name. So welcome. Thank you. Connect on Twitter. She says, longtime fan of MHH. You guys do a great job showing a little love. Well, thank you, Nancy. We really do appreciate it. Stick around. Throw in any topics, questions you have, not just tonight, but every single night. If you're around, we want to hear from you and appreciate the contribution. We really do. Hey, look, Tyler comes on the show and then jumps into the chat, throws up some coin for MHH. Love it. Appreciate you, Tyler. He says, thanks again for the invite. I appreciate all the love. Hashtag MHH for life, Broncos country, and Denver Broncos for life. You're one of the greats, dude. Love you, Tyler.
Exactly. That's why you're a superstar, Tyler. We loved having you on tonight. We appreciate all your continued support.
Elway2K, come on. Don't be such a curmudgeon, man. Lighten up a little bit. Hashtags are fun. Let's go.
No more hashtags while using a hashtag.
There you go. We're at 55 minutes, and I got to keep this one pretty tight. All right, because I'm trying to get to my daughter's softball game. It starts in 9 minutes. I want to catch half of it if I can. So we'll try and blaze through our great supers who have been patient, including BG. Talk about a Mount Rushmore superstar. This is one of them. What's up, Brian? Good to see you. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Good to see you, Brian.
Jennifer King, also in the house, she says, and thank you, Jennifer. Congrats, Mo. And by the way, Mo picked a Bronco name, all right, for his son. Can you guess what it is? If you're following Mo on Twitter, you know. All right, I'm gonna give you a hint. This player's last name was Jackson. Put it in the chat if you know the answer. But Jennifer, thank you. She says, congrats to Mo and family, plus a preemptive congrats to Chad and family. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you very much. It means a lot. All right, let me see here, John. Okay, we got those. Let me just mosey down here really quick. I'm trying to think if we missed any news. The Broncos hired – well, we didn't talk about the fact that they hired because we left Monday night. Tuesday, the Broncos hired a new – it's hard to say at this point, like who is actually going to be George Payton's true number 2? Like who's his Matt Russell going to be? You know, who's his George Payton going to be relative to the Vikings GM Rick Spielman? So, of course, we know that they hired Kelly Klein. All right, she's going to be – it seemed like she was going to be the number 2. But then they hired yesterday as a senior personnel executive, Roman Pfeiffer, Zach. He of the former, as a player, New England Patriots fame, right? He won 3 world championships with the Patriots in that early 2000s dynasty. 14, 15-year veteran linebacker, got into coaching. In fact, he was an assistant linebackers coach in Denver under Josh McDaniels. And then he went from coaching to scouting ranks, washed out of the NFL for a few years, worked for the UCLA Bruins and in player development. Then he went back, got hired on to be an area scout for the Detroit Lions. And now he gets this bump, Zach. Now he is George Payton's, quote, senior personnel executive. It's hard to say at this point who the number 2 is. I'm leaning toward Kelly Klein because of her past working experience with George, but 2 momentous hires, and then they went out and hired a new scout today as well.
Yeah, and I actually saw a glowing endorsement from that scout. I don't want to butcher his name, but I believe it was Ryan O'Halloran who spoke to a league source, and the Broncos are getting a good one with their area scout. He's a very well-regarded kind of guy, good eye for talent, and the same thing for Roman Pfeiffer. And what I like about him is he has college experience, which is recruiting experience. So he has that selling point, that selling aspect, that showman ability, not just eyeing talent, but also securing talent and doing what he thinks is best for the organization. I like the Broncos are going to players' roots. They're going to different areas of the tree, different branches. They hired historically the highest ranking woman executive in NFL history, now Roman Pfeiffer of Patriots fame. So I love what Peyton's doing. And Chad, we said this on Monday's show. Don't be surprised if there's wholesale changes in the Broncos front office. This is what new GMs tend to do every single year. Once the draft is over, they get their own guys in the building. So it could be the clock ticking for Brian Stark.
Seiwan Joe. That's how you say his name. Seiwan Joe, for what it's worth. So lots happening in the Bronco front office, for what it's worth. I just didn't want to miss out on that news. We also saw that the Broncos agreed to terms with their first-round pick. Patrick Surtain is officially locked down, signed. A 4-year deal, of course. It's worth just shy of $21 million. He's going to get $12 million plus in his signing bonus. So
fully guaranteed.
You know, he's locked in, which is good to see that little piece of housekeeping is done. It's not going to stretch into the summer. And usually when you see the first-round guy sign, the other ones quickly follow in a domino effect.
Now it's time for the games to begin for PS2.
Amen. Jason Christopher, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. He says, hey, guys, been a while. Thank you for putting out amazing content and being the voice for those of us who still believe in luck. Hashtag let them hate. Love you, Jason. Thanks, buddy. Again, guys, I want to know, for those of you who think we have, it's, you know, our Drew Lock takes are a bridge too far, where are we, you know, has hyperbole set in? Where are we overhyping Drew Lock at this stage? I want to hear it. I want your take.
You notice, though, that answer did not come because there is no answer, because we're not. That was an overreaction. I think we're very, very objective and very fair about Locke. We say, listen, we want him to get an opportunity, but if he gets that opportunity and he falls on his face, he should be out. He shouldn't have a long leash. Nothing should be handed to him. And if we were Locke apologists, if we were just so in bed with him, we would be making those statements, but we haven't and we won't.
What's up, Albert? Good to see you. One of our Facebook super supporters. He says, my QB lineup would be Drew Lock, Brett Rippon, and then a tie between Case Cookus and Teddy Bear. Interesting. Good to know. Appreciate the insight. Hope you're settling into your new digs out there, my friend. So hope all is well. Give my best to Michelle. All right, let me see real quick, John. I got to get going here, but we don't like leaving anyone out in the cold. So let me just do a quick glance through. Okay, we need – so I'm at – let me line this up real quick. Bear with me, gang. Sorry for the dead air here, but we don't want to miss anyone. So I'm at Kevin at 702, and that means I need Christian talking about a sleeper. I need Drew. Wow, Drew is in the house. Tom, and then I got it from there. Air Mason, what's up, buddy? Took Locke 2 off seasons to be a franchise QB. I mean, if you think he's a franchise QB already, we're not even saying that, guys, for what it's worth. We think he has that potential. We think that could be in his future and that the best is yet to come with Drew. But we've never said Drew's the guy forever, lock it in stone. We just think that he's shown enough that it's in the Broncos' best interest to move forward under the assumption that he could be that guy until he absolutely proves otherwise. Like if Teddy beats him out in camp in a fair competition, then that's an answer, right? That's, hey, he wasn't cut out for it, but we don't know that yet.
I don't know if this comment was made in jest or sarcasm or if it was some cheeky insult, but I've gone out of my way to insert potential franchise quarterback, not franchise quarterback, when it comes to Locke, because that's what he is until proven otherwise. He's not a bust, and he's not a franchise guy. He is right in the middle.
Drew, another Mount Rushmore superstar, rocking the swag in his YouTube profile. Love you, bro. Thank you for that generosity.
Yeah,
he says, just a little late, LOL. Still got to show some love. Hey,
that's a lot of love.
Than never.
Yeah, appreciate you, Drew. Thank you.
That is a lot of love. So, Drew, hope you've been well, my friend. Hope things are good in your neck of the woods. And it is great to have you in the chat. Thank you for the support, buddy. I'm going to grab Kevin while John gets one queued up here. What's up, Big Kev? He says, do y'all think we'll see more Netani Muti this year, especially if Graham Glasgow struggles again? Yeah, I do. If Glasgow struggles and or gets hurt, Muti's the next guy in. And so I'm not hoping that happens. I want Graham to stay healthy. Right. I want, not just for his sake, but Broncos have some serious coin tied into him. I want him to work out. But if he goes down, Muti's the next guy in. And that includes Dalton Reisner. If Reisner were to suffer an injury, Muti's the next guy that will be tapped, depending on how things shake out, because it's looking like the Broncos want Quinn Miners as a center to push Cush.
Yeah, I wasn't hoping that Glasgow struggles. I was hoping we see more of Muti because he was so impressive in his limited action last year, especially in run blocking. We say it all the time. The guy is just so strong, so powerful, and his hands are so thunderous. I want to see that on a consistent basis week in and week out. But he's a good backup to have for now, growing under Mike Munchak, while hopefully the Broncos get their money's worth, like you mentioned, out of Glasgow.
Dave again. What's up, bud? He says, what's y'all's take on Javonte Williams? After watching film on this dude, I think he'll take Melvin's job sooner than people think. Let him hate Broncos country. Yeah, he's a bona fide threat. This dude is no joke. Melvin knows that. This dude, Javonte Williams, he's the truth. And he's a former linebacker. He was a great student, very smart, academic guy, and talented. And one of the things you got to love about him is two things. He lays the wood. He looks to inflict the pain as the ball carrier. I love that. We saw that in a far less talented guy in Juwan Thompson many years back. Not too many years, but a few years back. Juwan Thompson was that type of a guy, also a converted linebacker at Duke. He didn't have 1/10 of the talent that Javonte Williams has. All right. So there's that as far as what Javonte Williams brings to the table. And he's just, he's a good receiver out of the backfield. He can do it all. But what I love about him, Zach, he's still got plenty of tread on his tires, because he shared all those snaps in North Carolina with Michael Carter.
Exactly. I was going to say he's used to, being in a committee role and having to fight for his carries and earn that top dog. spot, but he's not going to be sipping Merlot, Pookie. He's going to be taking Melvin Gordon's job probably by midseason. I would assume he is that talented. I wasn't crazy about a second-round trade-up for a running back, but if you're going to get one, might as well be Pookie. He is a talented prospect, and I think he's the future at running back in Denver.
We need to get a shirt made up with Zach's face on it that says, "Got Merlot?" ?
Merlot Gordon.
Dale again, what's up, buddy? He says, we don't need Rodgers. We don't need Deshaun Watson. We need Drew to realize he doesn't need to make every play. He has a roster full of teammates who can help. I started seeing that in the second half of last season. Yes, another thing that jumps out, if you actually watch the film on Drew, and it's not that his Week 11 performance was completely bereft of warts. There were some, he's a young quarterback finding his way, but he took palpable steps forward down the stretch. And that was one of them. He kind of started realizing, look, I know I got a lot of guys to help me. I need to start feeding these guys. Here's how I can do it. And it was a big step forward.
Let me say one thing. It's on Drew to recognize when he should or should not do something, but it's not our responsibility. It's not the fans. It's not his receiver. It's not his linemen. It's the coaches. That's what they literally get paid for. That's what Shurmur was hired to do, is coach the mistakes out of Locke and make him a better quarterback. And part of that is sitting him down and drilling into his head, listen, green light, yellow light, red light, make it that simple. And they didn't want to do that last year. And the sooner they do that with someone like Locke and allow him to go out there and sharpen that sword, he will cut down on those turnovers. But to ignore the lack of coaching last year, Chad, with the turnovers, I think is blatantly biased.
We were pounding the table for Pat Shurmur to pull his head out, so to speak. And you didn't really see it all year. And if you did, it was maybe a little bit down the stretch. He started realizing a few things. But I think, and again, that's why I say, look, Drew needs that year or two in the same scheme so that he can have that foundation and that comfortability with his scheme and play caller. Shurmur, too, that pendulum swings toward the coach, too. The coach now knows this collection of talent, Drew included, and I think that bodes well for a step forward this year, just overall offensively. Team Christian, I'm just going to say Christian because I always butcher the name. Who is your guys' sleeper team of the year, not including us? Appreciate you, Christian. Zach, who's your sleeper?
I have two deep sleepers. One is Cincinnati. If Joe Burrow comes back healthy, I really like what he was doing last year, and if they can get that defense under control, tough division, but I think they're ascending. And also, it sounds crazy, but the Jets, if Zach Wilson, if they hit on him, they have an offensive line now. They have Robert Salah, who should work wonders with that defense. They can make a run for the money in the AFC East. Those are two teams off the top of my head. And also, I see Miami. That's not really a sleeper, though. They were making a lot of noise last year. And I don't know about Dallas being a sleeper team, but I think they're going to make a lot of noise in the division with Dak healthy again this season.
My answer is also not like a huge sleeper dark horse. I mean, the last ESPN power rankings had them at number 12, but I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be better than people think with Carson Wentz. So for what that's worth. All right, we're running out of time here. So Larry, what's up, dude? It's good to see you. Broncos fan number 24. Love you, buddy. Thanks for the support. He goes, I just wanted to stop by to support you guys. Chad, you've been dropping knowledge on Twitter lately. Have I? I mean, thank you, bro. Always great to catch up with you, and appreciate your support for real, dude. You've always been one of the greats, and it's fun I follow what you do on Twitter, by the way, as well. So check him out. Check him out on Twitter.
Appreciate you.
BNS, what up again, dog? He goes, do you guys think Baron Browning, Denver's third-round linebacker, is the guy to finally shut down the tight ends and running backs? Watching film of him, I think he can. # all Pro Bowls, best pod in the business. Zach, your answer, rapid fire.
Straight from the Bulls news service. Yes, I do think once he gets some coaching and seasoning, not right away. I think it's going to be Jewell and A.J. Johnson holding it down an inside linebacker. But once he adds a little weight and learns the Fangio defense, he's going to be a force against Kelsey, Waller, and the rest of the tight ends in the NFL. My favorite draft pick of this year's class.
And Justin Sternad, they both have that upside. Let's just hope things click and they stay healthy. Tom, Canada, what's up, bro? Appreciate you. Do you think that the QB 50-50 BS decision was through Shurmur, Fangio, or Peyton? Thanks, guys. I would say Fangio, to be frank with you. That would be my guess.
I would hope. I hope that Pat Shurmur is not dictating what the entire, offense looks like. He has to go through his head coach. So I hope Fangio is at least hands-on to that extent.
2 more, including Eric. What's up, buddy? Appreciate you. Great to connect with you on Twitter as well. Appreciate the support. Most definitely. Also, got to shout out Travis, one of our Facebook super supporters. Appreciate you, Doc. He goes, love the show, fellas. I do comment a lot, but not sure how to do super chat so you guys can see my comments and questions. So, Travis, you got to go onto YouTube to super chat. So you'll maintain your membership on Facebook as a supporter, get access to Kelberman's Corner, get access to the Trickle Zone on Facebook on the weekends. On the weekdays, if you want to super chat, go subscribe to Mile High Huddle on YouTube, and then you're good to go. You're watching live from YouTube instead of Facebook, and then you'll have an option to super chat. Until and unless StreamYard finally gets it together regarding Stars questions on Facebook. I wish they would show them to us in StreamYard the way super chats show up so we don't miss them, but until that happens, that's the best method. Christian, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you. He goes, I've been stuck on the graveyard shift, but catch you guys every night. Keep up the good work. State of being, # let him hate. Love it, dude. Appreciate you. Thanks for checking in, my dog. Joey, a newer name on Super Chat. Joey, I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. I don't want to butcher it, but welcome. You're a newer name on Super, so welcome. Thank you, my friend. Also, shout out Dave Glassman, one of our most dedicated members of the community, supports on Twitch, supports on YouTube, supports on Facebook as a supporter. Love you, dude. Hope you're doing well. All right, guys, before we get out of here, Joey did have a question. Cecil Lammey and James Palmer said they prefer Bridgewater's floor over Drew's ceiling. It's not just PFF that supports that narrative. Geez, I can't wait for the Crow season. Go Broncos. Hey, I love Cecil. Cecil's a good friend of mine. I respect his take. I mean, for real, Cecil's up there for me, like in terms of, I when he says something, I take it in. If it challenges one of my own takes, I do a 360 and kind of analyze that. But I disagree with him on that subject.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for James Palmer as well, but this is the same guy that said Rodgers was a done deal. Now he walked it back and said it's 20-30% likely he's going to be traded. So I wouldn't necessarily buy into everything you're hearing right now. And Chad and I are of the mind the Broncos genuinely and truly are high on lock ceiling.
All right, guys, before we get out of here, quick shout out to our top superstar senders on Facebook. Randy Jones. What's up, Randy? Sean Miller. What's up, buddy? Gary Leeds Palmer. So consistent. And then, of course, Travis Tarbox. Love you guys. Thank you for the support. It means the world to us. And with that, guys, we got to dip on out of here. Shout out to Tyler Randell for spending some time with us tonight. It was great chatting him up. He had some unique insights that we hadn't heard before. So thank you, Tyler, for your time tonight and for your support. And to all of you guys, we love you. Yeah. We got to dip, though. So, Zach, sign us on out of here. We'll see everybody tomorrow night for the Mile High Mailbag.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick because I know you're short on time. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for another wonderful podcast. We'll be back tomorrow night for the Mile High Mailbag, Chad and I's favorite podcast of the week. So if you have any questions, be sure to drop them right there at Huddle Up Pod or at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. You can find, I'm not going to forget this time, John, the producer, at John KMHH. Also, guys, check out the store at huddleuppod.com. Get your swag, get your hats, your shirts, et cetera, et cetera. It's all right there, your one-stop shop. And if you can't do that, we totally, completely understand. Just do these 3 things. You can quickly subscribe, quickly like, and quickly share. It helps us grow immensely. We appreciate you more than you know. Once again, Chad, we'll be back on tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern, Mile High Mailbag. Be there or be square. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.